Have you ever wondered whether sex really matters after 60? Or whether it's just one of those things we leave behind, like late night parties or high heels as we age? If you have, you're not alone. Many people quietly and without ever saying it aloud assume that physical intimacy is meant only for the young, that it's optional, or that it's something we grow out of. But here's the surprising truth. Sex connection and touch don't become less important with age. They become more important. Not for the reasons we often see in movies or commercials, but for reasons that touch every corner of your health, your heart, your brain, your sleep, your confidence, even your immune system. In fact, the absence of intimacy can trigger changes so subtle you might not even realize what's missing until it starts to affect how you feel every single day. Maybe you've noticed it already. Your mornings feel heavier, your joints are stiffer. You find yourself missing your partner in a quiet, unnamed way. Or perhaps your memory isn't quite as sharp or sleep doesn't come as easily. These aren't just signs of getting older. They may be signs of losing a deeper kind of connection. I remember speaking with Lorraine, a retired teacher in her early 70s. After her husband passed away, she said she didn't just miss companionship. She missed being seen, touched, desired. I didn't realize how much that part of me mattered. She said, until it was gone, her story isn't rare. It's one many people share silently. So in this video, we're going to talk openly and honestly about what really happens when intimacy fades after 60, and more importantly, what you can do about it, because it's never too late to reclaim this part of yourself. If you're curious what truly happens when intimacy fades, stay with me, because some of these changes are subtle but deeply important. And once you understand them, you might just discover that a more connected, joyful version of you is still waiting, ready to be awakened. Most people think of their heart in terms of cholesterol levels, blood pressure, or daily walks. But there's something else, something more personal that plays a critical role in your cardiovascular health intimacy. And yes, we're talking about sex. Sexual activity, even when gentle and infrequent, functions like a mini workout for your heart. When you're engaged in physical intimacy, your heart rate rises, circulation improves, blood pressure decreases, and blood vessels stay more flexible. These are the same benefits that many medications or aerobic exercises try to deliver. In fact, studies have shown that adults over 60 who remain sexually active have fewer heart-related complications compared to those who are not. It's not about being a gym warrior, it's about staying connected. The emotional comfort, touch, and closeness you experience during intimacy help regulate your nervous system and keep stress hormones like cortisol in check. And that matters for your heart health more than most people realize. On the flip side, when intimacy fades, so do these natural physiological boosts. Without the periodic cardio-like stimulation, your heart misses out on one of the gentlest and most meaningful ways to stay strong. That absence can contribute to increased stress, inflammation, and gradual hardening of the arteries. Take Harold, for instance. He's 72 and had struggled with borderline hypertension for years. Medications helped, but didn't fully solve the issue. After he and his wife decided to rekindle physical closeness, nothing extreme, just regular, gentle connection, he noticed that his resting blood pressure readings started to improve. At first, he thought it was a coincidence, but his doctor confirmed that those emotional and physical connections were helping his body relax, and it was directly benefiting his heart. We often overlook the invisible care that intimacy provides, but your heart doesn't forget. It responds to affection, to rhythm, to closeness, and when those moments are gone, it begins to feel the strain. So yes, your diet matters, your medication matters, but so does your connection. Your ability to give and receive love physically and emotionally might just be one of your most important heart health strategies. As we get older, maintaining strength and flexibility becomes a daily challenge. But here's something most people don't realize. Physical intimacy is more than just closeness. It's also a form of natural, low-impact exercise. During moments of intimacy, multiple muscle groups are gently engaged. Movements involve the hips, legs, arms, and core. Even the simple act of holding or adjusting your posture during physical closeness requires coordination and control. These subtle motions help activate muscles and stimulate blood flow, which in turn supports joint mobility and balance. When intimacy fades from our lives, we lose these small but meaningful bursts of movement. And over time, the impact becomes visible. Muscles weaken faster, joints stiffen more, and tasks like standing from a chair or walking across a room start to feel heavier. What's more, the confidence that comes from physical capability often disappears alongside intimacy. Many older adults unknowingly drift into a more sedentary routine, not because they're lazy, but because that spark of movement, that playful engagement with their body has gone quiet. Let me tell you about Bill, a 69-year-old former school bus driver. After undergoing hip surgery, he and his wife Susan had put intimacy on pause for over a year. "I was afraid I'd hurt myself," he said, "or that it wouldn't feel the same." But eventually, with encouragement from his physical therapist and a little creativity, Bill and Susan began to reintroduce closeness into their lives slowly, gently. The result, Bill noticed he was walking with more ease. His morning stiffness reduced, and he said something powerful: "I felt like my body woke up again." When we stop engaging in physical intimacy, the body responds by tightening, shrinking, and retreating. But when we begin to move again, even in small personal ways, it remembers how to open, expand, and strengthen. So if your joints have been aching or you've felt more off balance lately, don't overlook the role of intimacy. It may be the missing movement your body has been quietly craving. Now, from muscles to mind, what happens to your memory when touch disappears? We often think of brain health in terms of crossword puzzles, leafy greens, or staying socially active. And while those things certainly help, there's another element that rarely gets the spotlight: intimacy. That's right, sexual connection isn't just good for your heart and muscles, it's essential fuel for your brain. When you're physically intimate, your brain releases a blend of chemicals: dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. These aren't just feel-good hormones, they're also brain-protecting compounds. Dopamine supports attention and memory. Oxytocin fosters emotional bonding and reduces stress. Endorphins elevate mood and ease tension. All of this contributes to a sharper, calmer, more resilient mind. Now imagine if that chemical boost quietly disappeared. No more dopamine surges. No oxytocin to soothe your nervous system. No endorphins to brighten your mood. Slowly you begin to notice changes: brain fog, forgetfulness, a lack of focus. It doesn't happen overnight, but the absence of intimacy can slowly chip away at cognitive clarity. Take Marianne, for example. She's 76 and lives with her husband of 50 years. After a long stretch of physical disconnection brought on by caregiving, stress, and fatigue, Marianne noticed she was feeling increasingly irritable, foggy, and withdrawn. "I just felt disconnected from everything," she said. But after a heartfelt conversation and a mutual decision to rebuild closeness, something shifted. "It was like I came back online." She shared, "I felt lighter and my mind felt clearer." This isn't anecdotal, it's science. Physical connection stimulates regions of the brain involved in memory, creativity, and emotional regulation. Even gentle, affectionate touch can help reinforce neural pathways that keep the brain agile and alert. When intimacy is missing, especially for long periods, the brain can begin to shut down these pathways. That can lead to more than just forgetfulness. It can open the door to anxiety, sadness, and even early cognitive decline. So if you've found yourself misplacing keys more often, feeling mentally foggy, or even just emotionally detached, it may not be just aging. It may be your brain quietly asking for reconnection. The brain feels it, but so does your heart in a different way. Let's talk emotional closeness. When we talk about physical intimacy, we often focus on the body, but in truth, one of the most profound places it touches is the heart. Emotional intimacy, feeling close, valued, and deeply connected, thrives on physical affection. And when that affection fades, so does something invisible but essential: our bond with one another. For many couples over 60, a lack of intimacy doesn't start with a dramatic moment. It starts quietly. A missed kiss, goodnight, less hand-holding. Conversations that stay on the surface. Over time, what was once a vibrant connection begins to feel like a routine. Two people in the same house sharing space but slowly drifting apart. And here's the truth. No one talks about emotional intimacy doesn't vanish because people stop loving each other. It fades because we stop expressing that love. Through touch, through closeness, through vulnerability. I remember speaking with Clara, 73, who described this beautifully and painfully. She said, "We still loved each other, but we felt more like roommates. I missed the way he used to look at me, the way his hand would find mine without thinking." Her husband Richard felt it too. but they had both assumed that it was just part of aging. When they finally acknowledged the distance and made space to reconnect just through small gestures. At first, it was like watching spring return after a long winter. The emotional consequences of losing intimacy can be heavy. Loneliness is one of the most under-discussed health risks in older adults. It's not just a feeling, it's a biological stressor. Studies have shown that prolonged loneliness increases blood pressure, weakens immunity, and accelerates cognitive decline. And within a relationship, the absence of closeness can lead to quiet resentment, insecurity, and a loss of identity as a loving partner. Touch is not a luxury, it's a language, a way of saying, I see you, I choose you, I still want to connect. And without it, even decades-long relationships can become fragile. But here's the hopeful news. Emotional intimacy is never too far gone to reclaim. Even one small moment of tenderness, a hand on the shoulder, a longer hug, or a shared memory can open the door to warmth again. Couples who reintroduce touch often say they feel younger, more alive, more connected. So if you've felt emotionally distant, or if your partner seems more like a familiar presence than a loving partner, consider this an invitation to reach out, to talk, to touch. And surprisingly, even your sleep may start to suffer. Let me explain. Sleep is one of the most precious things we can preserve as we age. Yet for many adults over 60, getting a full, restful night becomes increasingly elusive. What most people don't realize is that physical intimacy plays a hidden but powerful role in sleep quality. After sexual activity, whether it involves full intercourse or just affectionate touch, the body naturally releases a blend of hormones designed to help us relax and restore. Prolactin brings on a sense of satisfaction and drowsiness. Oxytocin, the cuddle hormone, lowers cortisol levels and fosters emotional safety. Together, these biochemical shifts act as nature's sleep aids. Without physical intimacy, these natural mechanisms become less active. The body doesn't shift into its deep rest mode as easily. Instead, stress hormones like cortisol stay elevated, making it harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, or feel truly rested in the morning. That's exactly what happened to Charles, a 70-year-old widower who had struggled with insomnia for years. I tried everything. Melatonin, herbal teas, even prescription meds, he said, but I still woke up 3 or 4 times a night. It wasn't until Charles entered a new relationship and began experiencing physical closeness again that he noticed a change. After a few weeks, I realized I was sleeping through the night, and I hadn't changed a thing except feeling connected again. Sleep is more than just rest. It's when your body repairs itself. It's when your brain files memories, your muscles rebuild, and your immune system strengthens. And yet when intimacy is absent, it quietly disrupts this cycle. You might not notice it at first, but over time, you start waking up tired, dragging through the day, and feeling mentally foggy. It becomes a cycle. The less you sleep, the less energy you have for connection. The less connected you feel, the more restless your nights become. But here's the good news. You can shift this pattern. You don't need to force anything. Even gentle, affectionate touch, a back rub, hand-holding, laying together with closeness can signal the body to wind down and release those sleep-supporting hormones. So if you've been tossing and turning or waking up more often than you'd like, ask yourself, when was the last time your body felt connected, held, seen? Sometimes the key to better sleep isn't a pill. It's a moment of closeness. When sleep suffers, so does confidence. Let's talk about self-worth. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and liked what you saw? Not just on the outside, but on the inside too. One of the quietest impacts of losing intimacy is how it changes the way we see ourselves. For many older adults, physical closeness isn't just about passion, it's about affirmation. A gentle touch, a shared glance, a partner reaching for your hand, these gestures whisper, "You're still wanted, you still matter." But when those gestures fade, it can feel like the world has stopped noticing. You start to question your attractiveness, your relevance, even your place in your own relationship. And it's not vanity, it's human. Dinah, 67, told me that after years of physical distance in her marriage, she began to feel invisible. "I stopped dressing up, I stopped caring about how I looked because no one was looking," she said. But then she and her husband started rekindling their connection, not through grand romantic gestures, but through small, steady acts of touch and attention. And one day Diana said, I looked in the mirror, put on a dress I hadn't worn in years, and smiled at myself. That moment mattered. Because confidence isn't just a mindset. It's a reflection of how connected we feel. When we stop feeling desired, we start to retreat. We close off, and before long, we stop reaching out altogether. But when intimacy returns, so does the spark. Self-esteem rises, posture improves, people smile more, engage more, and move through the world with renewed vitality. It's not just about looking good, it's about feeling alive again. And the research backs this up. Studies show that sexual satisfaction in older adults is closely tied to feelings of self-worth, life satisfaction, and emotional well-being. When touch disappears, these emotional reserves begin to dwindle. But when it returns, they refill sometimes faster than we expect. So if you've been feeling a little less like yourself lately, or wondering where your confidence went, consider this. Maybe it's not lost. Maybe it's just waiting for one gentle reminder that you're still here, still worthy, and still beautifully human. And what about your ability to stay healthy? You might be surprised by what comes next. When we think about immunity, we usually think of vitamin C hand washing or flu shots. But what if I told you that one of the most overlooked tools to strengthen your immune system, especially in your later years, is physical intimacy? Yes, connection doesn't just warm your heart, it defends your body. During sexual activity and physical affection, the body releases a cascade of hormones, especially oxytocin and endorphins, that help regulate the immune response, reduce inflammation, and increase levels of immunoglobulin, IgE, a key antibody that lines your respiratory and digestive tracts and helps prevent infections. That's right, cuddling with your partner might actually help you fight off a cold. When intimacy disappears, these chemical messengers decline too. Your body loses a gentle, natural form of immune support. And it's not just about illness. You may notice you're getting more colds, taking longer to recover from minor bugs, or feeling run down more often. You might chalk it up to age, but the truth is, it may be your immune system asking for a different kind of nourishment. Let me share a story. Walter, 75, a retired piano teacher, used to pride himself on rarely getting sick. But in the 2 years after his wife passed away, he found himself battling one sinus infection after another. I just thought I was getting old, he said. But I also knew I hadn't really felt close to anyone in a long time. When Walter joined a local senior music group, he didn't expect more than some companionship. But as friendships deepened, and one in particular grew into a new relationship, something changed. I started feeling stronger. I haven't had a cold in over a year. This isn't a miracle, it's the immune system doing what it's meant to do. Given the right emotional and physical cues, human beings are wired for connection, touch, affection, closeness. They're not extras, they're part of your biology. And when we stop engaging in these ways, our bodies quietly begin to falter. The immune system is deeply sensitive to how we feel both physically and emotionally. Loneliness and disconnection have been shown in countless studies to increase stress, hormones, decrease white blood cell activity, and even slow wound healing. So if you've noticed yourself getting sick more often, feeling fatigued, or taking longer to bounce back, consider that the missing piece might not be more supplements or sleep. It might be connection. But what happens when your body loses its best defense against stress? The next part might surprise you. We all experience stress, especially as we age and face life's inevitable changes, health scares, financial pressures, family challenges. But while we may accept stress as part of getting older, many don't realize there's a deeply personal physical resource that helps us manage it more effectively. Intimacy. During moments of physical connection, whether that's sex, cuddling, or affectionate touch, the body releases a powerful cocktail of hormones, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These neurochemicals work together to lower cortisol, the primary stress hormone, and create a sense of emotional grounding. They're nature's way of saying, you're safe, you're loved, you're not alone. When intimacy fades, those natural calming agents fade with it. Your body starts to carry stress without its usual emotional buffer that can manifest in many ways: frequent worry-racing thoughts, physical tension in the shoulders and chest, even gastrointestinal issues. Consider Martha, 74, who began experiencing shortness of breath and heart palpitations not during activity, but during quiet moments at home. Doctors found no serious physical cause. It was anxiety, she later said. I was holding everything in after she and her longtime partner began intentionally reconnecting, physically starting with simple things like laying together in bed or slow dancing in the kitchen. Her symptoms slowly eased. It didn't fix everything, she said, but I felt calmer. More grounded intimacy reminds your body that it's safe to relax, that it doesn't have to stay in fight or flight mode. And when your nervous system is regulated, you think more clearly, sleep more deeply, and respond to daily stress with more resilience. Without that grounding, stress accumulates and can turn into chronic anxiety, which often goes undiagnosed in older adults. It shows up not just as emotional worry, but as physical fatigue, irritability, forgetfulness, or even chest tightness. Many seniors assume these are just signs of aging, but in truth, they're often symptoms of emotional disconnection. The good news: restoring intimacy, even gradually, can help reverse this cycle. You don't have to jump back into full physical connection right away. A gentle hand on the back, a few extra minutes of hugging, making time to hold each other before sleep. These acts release the very chemicals your body needs to feel calm, loved, and stable again. But what if the real impact of lost intimacy is even more personal? What if it quietly changes the foundation of your most important relationship? In long-term relationships, love is rarely lost all at once. Instead, it fades in quiet ways through unspoken distance, lost routines, and the gradual disappearance of physical connection. When intimacy leaves a relationship, something foundational begins to shift. You may still share meals, talk about the news, or even laugh together, but deep down you start to feel more like housemates than partners. The spark dims, the shared glances, playful touches, and unspoken warmth that once defined your bond are replaced by habit and politeness. For many couples, this shift happens so slowly they don't even notice. But over time, the emotional glue that held the relationship together begins to weaken. Arguments become more frequent or more silent. Vulnerability disappears. Affection becomes awkward or absent altogether. That's what happened with Gary and Ellen, married 44 years. Gary, 71, shared with me, "We still said I love you, but it didn't feel the same. We weren't touching, weren't connecting. We stopped being curious about each other." Ellen later admitted, "I thought maybe we'd just grown out of that part of marriage." It wasn't until their adult daughter asked, "Are you two okay?" that they realized how far they'd drifted. It wasn't that they didn't love each other, it was that they'd stopped expressing it in the ways that mattered most, through closeness, physical affection, and emotional availability. Intimacy, whether sexual or simply affectionate, is the quiet engine that keeps a relationship emotionally alive. It says, "I still choose you." Without it, partners begin to feel unseen, unloved, or even undesirable. And this emotional erosion doesn't just affect how we feel, it changes how we communicate, how we argue, and how we forgive. Research shows that physical intimacy strengthens not only emotional bonds, but also conflict resolution and mutual empathy. Couples who touch more tend to fight more, fairly recover from disagreements faster, and report greater satisfaction in their partnerships, even decades into marriage rebuilding. That intimacy doesn't require dramatic gestures. It starts with simple actions: reaching for your partner's hand, offering a gentle back rub, or taking time to really listen without rushing the conversation. These small steps reawaken something powerful, something that's always been there, just waiting to be noticed again. If you felt your relationship losing its depth or your partner growing distant, it may not be about what's said, it may be about what's missing: connection. And the good news is, connection is always possible to rebuild. But what if the body starts to forget how to connect entirely? In our next part, we'll explore how the body adapts or declines when intimacy disappears for too long. There's a saying in medicine and movement: use it or lose it. And when it comes to intimacy, the body is no exception. Just like muscles weaken when we stop using them, sexual function, both physical and emotional, can begin to fade when it's left untouched for too long. For men, this might show up as reduced erectile function or longer arousal times. For women, it could mean increased vaginal dryness, discomfort, or a general lack of interest. But here's the thing: these changes don't happen all at once. They happen quietly, so subtly that by the time we notice them, they feel like they've always been there. That's what happened to Joan, 68. After years of focusing on caregiving for her aging parents, intimacy fell off her radar. At first I didn't miss it, she said. But then when I tried to connect again with my husband, my body didn't respond the way it used to. It was like a part of me had gone numb. It wasn't a loss of desire, it was a loss of familiarity. The human body is adaptable. When we practice intimacy regularly, the nerves, muscles, and hormones involved stay active and responsive. Blood flow improves, sensation remains vibrant, and emotional connection reinforces physical ease. But when that practice stops, especially over months or years, the body can become hesitant, tissues become less elastic, nerve endings less alert, even touch can feel foreign or uncomfortable. This creates a frustrating cycle. Discomfort leads to avoidance. Avoidance leads to further decline. And before long, many people begin to believe that intimacy is simply behind them. But that belief is not a fact, it's a fear, and more importantly, it's reversible. Studies show that even after long gaps in sexual activity, the body can relearn. Tissue health can improve with gentle stimulation, sensation can return, and with patience, communication, and curiosity, comfort can be restored. It's not about performance, it's about presence. Reigniting physical intimacy after a long pause starts small. A warm bath together, a slow massage, a shared bedtime routine that allows space for closeness without pressure. These moments reintroduce the body to connection and remind the brain that intimacy is safe, enjoyable, and still part of your identity. Because the truth is, your body hasn't forgotten how to feel. It's simply been waiting for permission. If you've been avoiding intimacy out of fear that your body won't respond or that it's too late, I'm here to tell you it's not. Your body remembers, and given a chance, it will show you that you're not broken. You're just waiting to reconnect. But how do we begin again, especially if it's been years? In our final part, we'll walk through exactly what you can do starting today. So now that you've heard what really happens when intimacy disappears after 60, the impact on your heart, your muscles, your sleep, your immune system, your relationship, and even your confidence. You might be wondering, where do I begin? How do you rebuild something that's been quiet for so long? The answer: you start small and you start today. The first and most powerful thing you can do is talk. Not just about what's missing, but about what you miss. Emotional intimacy begins with vulnerability, and vulnerability begins with honesty. Whether you're in a long-term relationship or just starting over again, opening up about your feelings is the foundation. You don't need the perfect words. You just need real ones. And if you're single, don't think this message isn't for you. Intimacy isn't limited to couples. Reconnecting with yourself is just as meaningful. That might mean rediscovering touch through self-massage, gentle stretching, or simply taking time to nourish your own sense of worth and sensuality. Every act of care tells your body, I still matter. I still belong in this skin. Second, reclaim physical closeness slowly and with compassion. You don't need to jump straight back into sex. Start with presence, a shared hug that lasts a few seconds longer, holding hands on a walk, a loving glance across the room. These simple gestures reignite the nervous system and slowly rebuild comfort. Think of it as warming up your emotional muscles. They've been resting, not retired. Third, tend to your health. If you've been experiencing physical discomfort like dryness, fatigue, or changes in desire, talk to your doctor. There are gentle, effective solutions available, and many older adults are surprised at how simple adjustments like adding lubrication or adjusting medications can make a big difference. You don't need to suffer in silence, you just need the courage to ask. Finally, let go of outdated beliefs about aging and intimacy. You haven't aged out of desire. You've evolved into a wiser, deeper version of yourself, someone who deserves closeness just as much as ever. Intimacy after 60 isn't about replicating youth. It's about creating a new, richer chapter of connection on your own terms. Take inspiration from people like Lorraine, who in her 70s rediscovered affection through poetry and handwritten notes with her partner. Or from Ben, 68, who started sleeping better after simply adding 5 minutes of cuddling to his bedtime routine. Or from Rita, 73, who laughed when she told me, "We're not as bendy as we used to be, but we've never felt more in love." You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to take the first step. Because the truth is, connection isn't behind you. It's waiting for you. And whether you're rebuilding with a partner or rediscovering yourself, this chapter right here, right now, can be one of the most meaningful, powerful, and joy-filled of your life. So take that step, reach out, ask the question, offer the touch. You're not done yet, not even close. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear one small thing you plan to do this week to reconnect, whether with someone you love or with yourself. Leave a comment below. And if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need this gentle reminder. You are never too old to be loved, to feel joy, or to begin again.